Hello and welcome back to Excelsive. Today we have an exciting topic to explore, Power Pivot in Excel. If you're looking to take your data analysis and reporting skills to the next level, you're in the right place. Some of you may not have used Power Pivot and some may have had some experience with it. So we'll dive deep into Power Pivot, demystify its features, and walk you through the process step by step. So let's get started. You might think that Power Pivot is overwhelming and that may be the reason that you haven't tried this awesome feature of Excel yet. But you have ever used pivot tables in Excel, you are already halfway there. Even if you haven't used pivot tables before, I'll make it super easy for you and provide all the resources in this video for you to practice. Just like any other thing in life, the more you practice, the better you get at it. You must be aware that in pivot tables, the data is summarized into one table from one dataset. Power Pivot takes this to the next level. Now you can use multiple datasets that are in different files and summarize them into one pivot table. For this video, we have 4 files for our office supplies company. We sell products used in office like pencils, paper shredder, paper clips, desk organizers, that sort of stuff. Like this file contains details of our sales agents, their date of birth, gender, and the commission they earn on revenue. Our customer file contains detail about our fake customers and the agent assigned to each customer. In order sheet, we have the product code, customer ID, and quantity. Our product sheet has details of our products, their cost, and sales price. These separate files represent any company where separate departments keep their own data in an Excel file, like the sales team keeping their orders in one file, customer data in another, the HR team keeping the details of the sales agents, and the manufacturing team keeping the details of the products we manufacture. If you have a close look to all the fields in this file, you will notice that there is no field that is present in all the 4 files. So if we want to know, say, the agent's commission, we know their respective commission percentage, but we don't have the total orders they have brought in to calculate their commission. Or even if we want to know which customer gets us the most revenue, we don't have the data in one place to calculate such simple but indispensable information. We could make a master sheet where all these fields are pulled using lookup functions and then complete these tasks. But that would need too many lookups, and most importantly, you'll have to keep changing the lookup array every time a new field is added to any of the datasets. That is not the most efficient way to solve this, and that's where Power Pivot comes in. You can leave these files as they are and calculate all sorts of data with it. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty, let's understand what Power Pivot is and why it's a game changer in Excel. Power Pivot is an Excel add-in that allows you to work with massive amounts of data and perform advanced data modeling and analysis. It's like having a supercharged data engine right at your fingertips. So we are going to open all these files in Power Pivot, create relationships in a data model, make some calculations, even assign some key performance indicators or KPIs. First things first, let's make sure you have Power Pivot activated. If you don't have a Power Pivot tab here, you need to get it activated. Click on File, then down here we have Options, then go to Add-ins on the bottom left here. This list shows all the add-ons available to you, whether they are active or not. Power Pivot comes under Inactive Add-ons, so we need to activate it. By the looks of it, it's a COM add-in, so we go down to this drop down here where it says Manage and select COM add-ins and click on Go. From this list, put a check mark on Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel and you are done. You'll instantly have a Power Pivot tab right up here. Now you're ready to roll. Now to connect our files, if you haven't already, open a new Excel file and under the Power Pivot tab, click on Manage. You will see a message down here, Loading Data Model, just for a few seconds. Once it's done, you will see this window. Click on Get External Data and we have multiple options here to import our data. We can get data from SQL or Access under From Database. If we go to From Data Service, we find the option to import from Data Feed, and that's not all. If we go in from other sources, you have many options to choose from. Azure is there, Oracle is there, text files, and here at the bottom we have Excel files where our data is for today's video. So we choose Excel files and get to this dialog box. First option is friendly connection name. We leave it as is and click browse on the second option and navigate to our file. Unfortunately, we can't select all the files in one go, so we click on the first file, agents, and we are back at this box. At this point, you have to make sure that your file is closed, otherwise you will get an error saying this file is in use. Back to this dialog box. Our file already has headers, so we choose use first row as column headers. This option here is to test the connection, since we are simply connecting our file with the agents file. The agents file may be on a shared drive in your network, so if you want, you can click on it to test the connection. It says test connection succeeded, so we click on next. Here we have all the tables in our file. Let me show you something. If I go in the agents file, I have renamed the table as agents and also the sheet. This small change helps us a lot at this stage because our file may have multiple tables and we might not want to pull all of them. By default, Excel names tables as table 1, table 2, and you can change it to something that you can recognize. Back at our Power Pivot window, if we want to, we can check the table we are importing by clicking on Preview and Filter. This will show us the table contents. Everything looks fine, so we click on Finish, and it says Success, 8 rows transferred. Click on Close, and you get to this window. In here, every row is considered as a separate record and is being mentioned down here. Record 1 of 8, 2 of 8, and so on. Now let's bring our other files in here as well. So we go to get external data from other sources, Excel file, browse, and this time we bring in the customers file. Put a check mark on use first row as column headers, click on next and finish. Let me quickly add the remaining 2 files of products and sales and we can continue from there. Here, done. All files are now connected to our data model. Before we move forward, let me show you around. Down here, just like sheets in our Excel files, we have all the sheets, which are in fact the tables in our individual files, agents, customers, products, and sales. You can add a column if you want, which we will do in a minute. You can resize the columns by dragging it, and in here, our product sheet, the cost and revenue figures have too many digits after decimal. So let's fix that. Just like in our Excel sheets, we have some options to format this. If we go into this group here, formatting, this is a drop down and we can select from here. It has text, date, decimal number, whole number, and currency. So it has the right format. We just need to get the digits after the decimal down to 2. So we click on here and that's better. Now that we have got all the tables in our model, it's time to create relationships. For that, we go to the top here in the view group and click on diagram view. You will see all your tables in these boxes with their respective fields as well. If you don't see all your tables, you should zoom out by either pressing and holding Ctrl and use your mouse wheel to go up to zoom in and go down to zoom out. Or you can use this slider here to zoom in or out. You can also move these tables like this. To see all the fields in the tables, we are going to make these boxes a bit bigger by dragging the corners like this. Now all the fields are visible. Let's take them 2 at a time. We have our agents and customers here. The common field in both these files is agent name in the agents table and assigned agent in the customers table. So we click on agent name here, and while holding the left click of our mouse down, we bring it to assigned agent. Now we have a line from our agent table to customers table, and if you look closely, it has 1 next to the agent table but a star next to the customers table, which means it's a one-to-many relationship because in our agents table, agent name only appears once, but in a customers table, agent name appears on multiple instances because single agent can be assigned to multiple customers. If you right-click on this line here, you get these options. You can mark this relationship as inactive, which will change the line format from solid to dashes, or you can edit it like this, which shows you a sample of your data from both the tables and the fields which you have linked, highlighted like this. So we are sure that we have connected correct fields. The third option is delete, which you can choose if you wish to delete this relationship and create another. But we are happy with the selection, so we move ahead. Now let's have a look at the other two tables, products and sales. The common field in here is product code and product. So we create a relationship using the mouse like this. And again, it's one-to-many relationship because product code appears only once in our product database, but since our sales sheet has many orders, it might appear multiple times there. Just to verify, we right-click on this connection here and go to Edit Relationship, and it's spot on. Now we have connected these two and these two, but if you think about it, they're still not talking to one another. They are in their own separate little bubbles, so to say. We need to connect at least one from each of these two to get the job done. Luckily, all our customers have a customer ID which is mentioned in our customer sheet and in our sales sheet as well. So we can use that to create a relationship. Let's do that now. Done. I think we have created ample relationships between our datasets, so we click on Data View on the top and get back to this view. I said that we can add columns up here. Let's do that now. Let's get to our product sheet and do some calculations which are not present in our original sheet. We can change the name of the column by clicking here, and let's say we want to find the profit on each product. So we change the name to profit like this and get to this column. Now to calculate profit, we need to subtract cost price from sales price. So we start by putting is equal to symbol, just like we do for writing any formula, but in here the formula appears here up top in the formula bar. So now if we would have been in a normal Excel sheet, we can use the arrow keys to get to our sales price column, put a minus sign, and then go to cost price column. But using arrow keys will simply move your cursor in the formula bar itself. So can we use the mouse to select our cells? Let's try that. Let's first click on the sales price. It works so far. Put a minus sign and now click on cost price. Press enter and done. It shows multiple digits after decimal. So let's fix that as we did earlier, and done. You should note that this new column profit that we have created here only exists in this data model here. The original product file will not have this column magically appear. Now let's have a look at the formula bar. You can see it also has the table name followed by the column name, just like if we refer to another sheet or file when we use any other formula like VLOOKUP, which refers to another sheet. I'll show you how this plays a part in our next sheet, sales. In here, we want to know how much revenue we have generated against each order. Let's rename this column to revenue. But this sheet only has the product code and the quantity. We have the sales price in other sheet, products. This is where our relationships that we created between all these tables come to play. In a normal Excel sheet, we would have to use a lookup function in order to bring the product selling price and then multiply it by this quantity here. But up here, it's pretty simple. Start by equal to, then write related. Highlight this one and press tab. Now we have all the files and their fields listed. We need to know the selling price of this product code, which was in our product sheet. So we scroll down to product sales price and double click on it. To complete this argument, we put closing brackets and then a multiplication symbol, and now we have to multiply it to the quantity. So we write QTY as it is mentioned here. It gives us two options. We will choose this one because it also mentions the sheet name. So we are sure that we are referring to this column and not some other column in any other sheet. Press enter and done. It has selected the product code from our sales sheet, pull the selling price of that particular product code from our product sheet and multiplied it by the quantity here. No messy lookup formula, copying and pasting, none of that. Now let's see how much profit have we generated on each order. We have already calculated profit per product in our product sheet, so it's simply a matter of multiplying it with a quantity here, and Power Pivot will match the product code. So we write our formula as related, press tab and select a profit column from our product sheet. multiplication symbol, QTY, choose this one here and done. Now we have the profit we made on each order. While we are here, let's calculate commission to be paid on each order to our agent, and since our sales sheet doesn't has the name of the agent, let's pull that too. So we rename this column here as agent name and then write our formula as related. Then go to the agents table and choose agent name field. Close brackets and press enter. Now we have all the agents for every particular order. Let's get the commission due to each agent as well. Rename this column as commission and let's write a formula. Related. Then we have a commission percentage which is different for every agent in our agents file. So we select the commission column from our agents file and multiply it by revenue field in our current sales table. And we have our commission. Now let's move to something called measures in Power Pivot. All this calculation that we have been doing to calculate the revenue, profit, commissions, etc. are calculated columns. In simplest terms, measures are something that are calculations used in data analysis later on. Till now, we have calculated revenue individually. Same thing goes about commission and profit. If we have to know what is the total sales, we have to create a measure. And they are created here at the bottom. Let's try writing one for total sale. So we go here and start a formula as, no prices here for guessing which formula to use. It's the sum formula. And for column, we will select revenue from the sales table. Press enter and here we have our result. Let me expand the column width here and format it as decimal number as before. It says here measure 1, which is not so descriptive. So let's change the name here to total revenue. Similarly, let's create another one for total profit. But let's do that in a different way. Close this window and it will take us back to our Excel sheet. Get to the Power Pivot tab and click on Measures, New Measure. We are going to create a total profit measure here. First drop down is the list of different tables. You can create it anywhere, but just for simplicity, we are going to create it in Sales Table view as before. So select Sales here. This way, we can also assign a name beforehand. So let's call this measure as Total Profit. Now get to this window. It already has an equal to symbol, so start with a sum formula and then select the profit column from a sales table. Close brackets and done. We can click on check formula here and it says no errors. Good. We can also set the formatting here as well. So let's do that and change it to number. Decimal number is okay and decimal place is set to 2 and let's use 1000 separator too. Hit OK and let's get back to our Power Pivot window by clicking on manage here, and down here we have our new measure for profit. You can create different measures depending on your requirement like average, count, etc. Before we move to the pivot part of the Power Pivot, let me show you something interesting. We are aware that we are not working on the original files. We have just created a connection with them, so the relevant departments are working on them and they probably add more records on, let's say, the sales file and created a new order. Let's simulate that in a sales file and create a new order. Before we move ahead, make a note of the total revenue and profit fields here. Now let's create a new order at the end. Date here, next order number here. Let it be the same customer, so Control D should do, and let's put a product code here and quantity. Now save and close this file. Get back to our data model, and while you are in the sales table, click on refresh on the top and you shall get this dialog box, success. Marvelous. Let's now check our records. At the end, we have a new order that we just created and our totals have also been updated. So we don't have to create all the relationships and import the same files over and over again. You do this once and as the files are updated, so does your data model. And it works the other way too. If a record is deleted from the main files, the same is reflected here too. Now let's put the pivot in the Power Pivot. To create a Power Pivot, you can either click on the pivot table icon in the Home tab here and it will take you back to your original Excel file and ask for the sheet where you want to create it. Change it as you wish and click OK. You can also create a Power Pivot from here by going to the Insert tab, Pivot Table drop down, and select from data model. The fields on the right are pretty similar to what we have in pivot tables. You can check our video on pivot tables to learn more about them, but there's a huge difference. In normal pivot table, we have a single table, but here we have all 4 of our tables: agents, customers, products, and sales. And if you click on this arrow here, you can see the fields too. Not only that, if you click on the sales table, you can find the columns we created in our data model, like the revenue and profit, and the measures too, which are shown by this symbol at the end. From here on, it's pretty similar to a normal pivot table. Just drag the fields where you want them to get to the data you wish to see. We had calculated commission per order in our sales sheet in the data model. Now let's see how much commission is due to each agent. So we drag agent name to rows and then go to our sales table and drag commission down to the values field, and here we have the total commission earned by each agent. Now let's see how much revenue and profit is generated by each customer. Let's get rid of these values and bring in customer name to rows. And now to bring in revenue, we can either bring this field or we can even bring the measure that we created. It's the same thing. Let me show you. First we bring the revenue, and now let's select the measure for revenue that we created. And you see they are identical. Let's remove the revenue field and bring the measure for profit down as well. Now we have the revenue and profit generated from each of our clients. You can create all sorts of data from here. As I said, it's the same as a regular pivot table. Let me show another distinct feature of Power Pivot, adding KPIs or key performance indicators. It's basically a way to graphically emphasize on key parts of your data. Like in our current situation, we have the revenue against each client and the profit. Let's say we wish to emphasize to our agents that they should work to generate a minimum of, let's say, 75,000 in revenue from each client. So while being in the pivot table, go to the Power Pivot tab and click on this drop down under KPI and click on New KPI. You will get to this dialog box. On the top, it asks for the base field. We want to create a KPI based on revenue, so we click here for the drop down, and you'll notice it doesn't has all the fields but only 2 fields. We added calculated fields of revenue, profit, and commission. None of them are here. That's because for KPIs, you need the measures. We created 2 measures, total revenue and total profit, and they are here. So we select total revenue here and move to the next option here. Now we have to choose a target value. We wish to make it 75,000, which is absolute, so we click on absolute value here and mention 75,000. Now to further emphasize on already emphasized KPI, we have sliders which can show you values as red, yellow, and green. As you can see, you can move these sliders. Let's set the minimum threshold to 40,000 and maximum to 75,000. You can either drag the sliders or mention the value directly in here. Now we have to choose the icon set. Let's choose this one with the cross exclamation and check mark. Hit OK, and what have we here? A new field with values from -1 to 1. By the looks of it, it seems -1 is below threshold, 0 is OK, and 1 is above threshold. Nevertheless, that's not what we ordered, did we? No problems. Let's fix this. If we scroll all the way down in the pivot fields here, we will find this symbol, which definitely looks like a traffic light. Let's open this to check the fields in it. It has 3 fields: value, total revenue, goal, and status. Where value and status are checked, let's uncheck all of them and then recheck them again. And here we have our symbols. By the looks of it, we are way behind on target on this client here. Let's see which agent is assigned to this client. Let's drag the agent name to the row box here, and we have our agent name. This one is going to get an earful in the next briefing for sure. Just like a pivot table, this table here can also be used to create a chart. So let's do that quickly before we finish this video. Let's remove the agent name and the KPIs from this column since we don't need them for this, and go to Pivot Table Analyze Group up here. Click on Pivot Chart and we are at this dialog box. Here we can choose the type of chart we want. Let's go with clustered bar, in the bar group and click OK. And here we have our chart. That was pretty easy, right? Let's make it a bit more interesting. How about a timeline? Let's go to the Pivot Table Analyze tab again, and in the filter group, click on Timeline. You get this dialog box. Timeline, as the name indicates, deals with time and in essence, dates. Excel has found these two columns with dates in our data model, and we are going to choose this one here. Why, you ask? You'll understand why in just about a moment. So we put a check mark here and click OK, and we get this. This is what is called a timeline in a pivot table. Up here, we can select if we want it to display years, which are not much use since all our sales data is only from 2023. Let's choose quarters, and we have all the quarters in our time period. You can filter the pivot table and the pivot chart just by clicking on the required quarter. Let's say we wish to check our revenue and profit in Q2. Just click on Q2 here and watch the values change. You wish to check for Q1 too? No problems. Press and hold Shift and click on Q1. Now the values are for Q1 and Q2. Similarly, if you wish to check for months, change it to months here, and we have all the months from our order dates in our sales sheet. While we are at it, let me quickly show you slicers. Now that we can filter our data using the timeline, we wish to see the performance of our agents too. Let's put a slicer for agent's name. While being in the pivot table, go to the Pivot Table Analyze tab and click on Insert Slicers. It shows you all the fields. If it doesn't, you can check in this tab here, All. We need the agent's name field from our agent sheet, so we select that and hit OK. Now we have a nice little box with all the agents' name, and we can check the performance of all the agents separately like this, or we can select two of them by pressing and holding Control like this. Or you can click on this option here which says Multi-Select. Then you don't have to hold Control. Just click to add and click to remove. This brings us to the end of this video, and I seriously hope with the knowledge you have gained from this tutorial, you're well equipped to harness the full potential of Power Pivot in Excel. It's a very powerful tool enabling you to get multiple tables, connect them with relationships, and then present that data in a way that is not possible otherwise. If you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more Excel tutorials, tips, and tricks. Give us a thumbs up if you're ready to supercharge your data analysis. Thank you for joining us today. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and remember, Power Pivot is your secret weapon for mastering data analysis in Excel. Until next time, happy spreadsheeting.